Just in case you're wondering, I made this video over the course of several days, so you may notice that there are several shirt changes. Hello, good day to you. It's me. It's been a little while. Just thought I'd make this quick video. I did do it last week, but I wasn't happy with the outcome of it. Basically, there was a story out which has been mentioned on the daily updates on telly on BBC One by Matt Hancock, because people have complained that there is an attitude that people will not be treated if they go into hospital and they have certain conditions that they feel should be ignored. So this article was in The Guardian, and it's not only coronavirus that risks infecting society, it's our prejudices, well, not mine, but society's attitude towards the frail and disabled people. The BMA, the British Medical Association, has set out guidance to ration treatment if the NHS becomes overwhelmed. The BMA suggests that in cases where ventilators are scarce, those facing a poor prognosis could have the life-saving equipment taken away from them, even if their condition is improving, with younger and healthier patients given priority instead. This was came about when NICE, the National Institute for Clinical Excellence, produced a document which I have mentioned. There is a rationale of 7 levels that they will look at, basically from 1 to 7, 7 being the worst. You know, they have an illness, they have a disability or whatever, and that they are reliant on care, for example. There was a report that came out that a GP practice in Wales had been issuing DNR, do not resuscitate, forms to a small number of patients, ensuring that emergency services would not be called should they contract the virus. One adult social care provider has said that 3 of their services have been contacted by GPs to say that they have deemed the people they support should all be DNR. One woman who's received it has been in her 20s. These stories of disabled and older people being denied care have been emerging for weeks as the virus has struck, but they have generally failed to find attention outside the disability community until now. The NICE that I mentioned, the National Institute for Health and Care Excellence, was forced to make a U-turn last week on their advice for the NHS. But they only did that after disability groups threatened legal action. NICE had told doctors that they should assess patients with conditions such as learning disabilities and autism as scoring high for frailty, thereby meeting criteria to be refused treatment. There's only one thing you can say about that in the bigger picture, whether it's true or not. It's opinion, and I suspect that you all know what I'm going to say, and the fact is that they want to get rid of disabled people because they're a burden on society. One way of doing that is, just let them go. When there's treatment to be given, they withhold the treatment. Well, for me personally, I think I don't want able-bodied people giving me an ultimatum, live or die. Because let's face it, able-bodied people, what right do they have to say whether somebody lives or dies? In a health crisis, it is not only the virus that risks infecting society, but our prejudices It's a slippery slope of ethical compromises in a culture of a medical system that already struggles. Research shows that an estimated 1,200 people with learning disabilities die avoidably every year due to poor care. And the term learning disabilities and Down syndrome have been given as a reason for do not resuscitate orders. Obviously, in the pandemic, doctors have to make difficult clinical judgments. Would a medical intervention help a patient, or does the underlying health condition prevent them from benefiting? However, judgments based on efficacy of treatment are not the same as judgments based on the quality of a disabled person's life. It's worth considering why the default position is to deny life-saving treatment to some disabled people, rather than to ask why a wealthy nation that has months to prepare doesn't have enough resources in the first place. Is it worth considering whether talk of limited resources is excusing and normalising the long-held idea that disabled lives are disposable? Obviously, we've seen on social media lately that disabled people have taken to listing their achievements as if it's trying to make the case that they should live. A disabled person who has their ventilator removed may have gone on to cure cancer, for example, but then they may have just been loved by their mum and dad. Disabled people, like all minorities, are only fully human when we are permitted to be as wonderfully average as anyone else.
This week, the BMA published guidance to doctors about how to decide who lives and who dies during the pandemic. The guidance recommends that critical care is denied to people that might take longer to recover from COVID-19. In essence, thousands of the most vulnerable people will be denied treatment and left to die. I'm John. I'm 39 and I have Duchenne muscular dystrophy, a rare genetic muscle wasting condition. I started using a wheelchair when I was 10 years old and gradually saw my muscles deteriorate, and now I use a ventilator to breathe. But based on my current health, I could live another 15 years. If I get sick and go to the hospital, under this guidance, I will likely be denied critical care, based on an assumption that I will take longer to recover. I'm angry about this, but most of all, I'm just scared. My life is valuable. I have a PhD. I'm the CEO of a small charity supporting others with my condition. And I volunteer for NHS England. I have a husband and a loving family. I don't want to die. How did we get here? Why is the first response by the medical establishment to decide who lives and who dies, rather than urging the government to take much bigger steps to provide more critical care places? Why are we asking our frontline staff to make heart-wrenching decisions on who to save? How is anyone okay with this? This is a resource issue, not an ethical one. I understand the rationale for doing this, and I want to save as many lives as possible, but surely not at the cost of our humanity. Our system has always protected the most vulnerable. Now we're told we will be sacrificed. I knew from an early age that my life would be shorter, but the NHS has always been there providing amazing support. I've done everything I can to give something back, and everyone else is doing what they can right now to shield vulnerable people. So why are the doctors being told to let us die in hospital? We are all being betrayed. So what's the alternative? Let's demand more resources for a start, and a first come first served approach to critical care. if necessary, removing it in the absence of recovery. It's an approach we already use and we all understand. It's fair and it's easier for health professionals too. It's easier to explain we'll get you a ventilator when we can, rather than you aren't worth treating. Please don't let me and thousands of others die without giving us a chance. I'm not asking for higher priority, just the same opportunity as everybody else to survive. We're not statistics, we are real people. Please don't write us off.
Getting rid of parts of society in the New World Order. What really annoys me is the fact that you read stories of all of the people that are going around spitting and being aggressive towards other people. People that are part of society who are, by their very nature, able-bodied. If they are going to do that, then why not choose some people that aren't productive in the world? But what benefit are they to society compared to anyone else? We are diving into a very dodgy area, which personally I don't particularly relish. So I was watching the telly the other day, and coincidentally on Star Trek Voyager they were discussing critical care, and it was, whoa, what's that about? The doctor had to deal with exactly the dilemma that we're discussing in this video. Who do you choose to live and die based on their value and based on their worth to society because of the limited resources available to the society that they are in? And of course this was made 20 odd years ago, so the early 2000s, set in the future. Obviously they do base it on current affairs, and this seems very, very spooky in the fact that the dilemmas are reflected in what we want to talk about in this video. The problem we've got is I couldn't give you the exact quote I wanted because I couldn't download the episode, but the video here will show you the highlights.
You seem a little low on resources here.
But the allocator might give you clearance.
Good. Where can I find him?
The allocator isn't a him, it's our main computer. He hasn't been given any.
Why not?
He doesn't have a high enough TC.
What's TC?
Treatment coefficient. The allocator assigns one to every patient. It determines the level of care they receive.
You'll have to submit a formal request to Chelik and support it with Form A3W in triplicate.
How is this coefficient derived?
Through a complex formula that involves profession, skills, accomplishments.
Level blue is your critical care area, I presume.
Level blue is the area where it's most critical that we provide excellent care.
Why are these patients getting preferential treatment?
They have a higher TC than the others.
Is there an established treatment?
Cytoglobin injections.
I just saw a boy on level red who's dying. This medicine could save his life.
This woman is the chief engineer of an irrigation facility which provides water to half the subcontinent.
So her life is more valuable.
Keeping her healthy contributes to our survival. If he becomes more valuable to society, his TC will rise and then he'll receive better treatment.
And then of course there's this chap who discusses the episode in depth, which you might find quite interesting.
But you have to consider from a purely ethical perspective that is an ethical dilemma. Do you hurt one person to save 100? And that is a slippery slope of hell. The further down you go on that slope, you can get to some really dangerous territory the further you think along those lines. Because it's easy to say, let's threaten the life of one obstinate bureaucrat in order to save the lives of a dozen people. That's an easy choice. Move forward a few steps, and you start thinking, well, these people don't really need to be alive. They're going to die anyways. Let's go ahead and kill them now, rip out their organs, and start helping other people. And you could go further from that, and further from that, and further from that. It's a very, very slippery slope, ethically speaking, and it's a very dangerous topic to discuss. It's not hard, in my opinion, to look at someone who is suffering or dying, or both, and say, I want to save that person. I want to help that person. Especially if you have the ability to do so, the knowledge, the resources, the expertise, whatever it is, you can actually reach out your hand to that person and say, I got you. It is not hard to look at those suffering people who are dying because of a system and say, I'm going to help these people. I'm going to do the damnedest I can in order to try and save every life down here because, by golly, these people deserve it. It is also horrifyingly easy to take a step back, remove yourself from the personal perspective, the empathy, the sympathy, and to say, we don't need those people as a society. We need these other people. They should get the resources because that way their lives will be able to be saved instead.
Anyway, have a good day, and I will catch you again. Bye bye.